Welcome back to the Life to the Fullest podcast. I'm your host, Dan Jason. This is the EF3 Life platform. Education, faith, fitness, finance. We're talking about it all. It's a growth mindset, and we are accelerating the dream. Why? Because it matters. Why? Because it's real talk. And today, that is what we're going to be discussing. Because in life, you have to see that most people, they just don't care. What don't they care about? When in actuality, they don't really care about what you're doing. Too long have you been wasting your time. You've been going through life thinking about the very fact that you feel or you believe or your perception is that so many people are talking about you. And yeah, they might. It's like the crickets out there. You can hear them chirping. Yep, I can hear them chirping. And guess what? People are going to talk. Leave that to the birds. Leave that to the crickets. Leave that to the animals out there. Because here's the thing. Life is hard. You're not going to do anything in your life without having to go through obstacles. And sometimes that obstacle is doubt. Sometimes that obstacle is fear. Sometimes that obstacle are people that shouldn't even be opposed to what you're doing, but they are. That's reality. What are you going to do about it? Are you going to allow that to limit you? Are you going to allow that to suck the very air out of your lungs? Are you going to allow that to despoil your dreams? If you do, then you have nothing within you that will build your character. You have not what it takes. And certainly you're selling yourself short, and you're selling so many other people short, because the reality is that you have to do it anyway. If you really think for a very second that it's going to be easy, that it's going to be handed to you, that there's going to be a freaking silver spoon in your mouth, guess what? Not the case. Newsflash. That isn't going to happen. And if it does, it's not going to last, because people who are authentic, people who are real, people who are actually doing things to make a difference in this world, to impact other people's lives, are actually living from within the pocket, with truth resonating in their heart, not the opposite. Not the opposite. So when you're looking at your own life right now, when you look at yourself in the mirror, what are you seeing? Are you liking what you're seeing? And if you're not, guess what? Stop listening to what other people are saying to you and start actually thinking about what you want to make of your life. Because it boils down to it. People will talk, they will criticize, and that is their own freaking weakness and indeficiencies. Those are the things that they don't like about themselves. Those are the very truths that they're unwilling to actually accept about them. When they are trying to tear other people down, when they're trying to say, oh, well, so-and-so isn't cut out for that, or they can't do that, or why would you even consider it? Or, bro, you should be more humble and not live, and try to strive for all that, what you call greatness. Or what are you talking about? What are you talking about? Those are the very people that haven't accomplished anything. And they won't accomplish anything because guess what? They're too lazy. They're too just set in their own ways, and they actually don't want it bad enough. They don't have a why. So if you want to change your life, what do you got to do? You actually got to cut the noise out. You have to have blinders on like a horse running in a race, and you have to just stay focused. If you stay focused, anything is possible. But if you don't, what's going to happen? You are going to subside to the whims of the world. You're going to cave like a cheap card table. An uncle told me that a long time ago. I've seen it happen time and time again. And what is taking place now is even worse than years before. It's the millennials that now are looking at the internet, that are looking at social media, that are looking at the get rich quick or instantaneously. If you develop an app, if you develop some kind of alternating way of living and you add great value to someone's life through the access of technology or AI, amazing. I hope that you do. But if you don't do that, the greatest chance that you're going to actually have success here is that putting your nose down, buckling your bootstraps, and getting to work. If you don't work hard, nothing is going to come your way. And people, when they talk, guess what? They get tired of jabbering. They get tired of flapping their jaw when they see results because they might not like it. They might be jealous. They might hate on you. They might say, that whatever. Okay. They might even call you a piece of crap. I don't know. But guess what? The very fact is, those are harsh realities. Not everybody is going to agree. That's okay. They're entitled to their own opinion, but you don't have to listen to them. And anybody who knows me and knows me well understands that as a man of faith, as a person who believes, you have to believe in yourself and you have to believe in the dream. You have to believe that it's possible. You have to believe that God can help you to do what you really set out to do, what He has called you to. And if you live with ferocity, if you live with intensity, if you have intentionality in your actions, then it doesn't matter what other people say, because that won't stop you. They're going to say it. Let them say it. If they think it, they think it. Who cares? Who cares? Because at the end of the day, this is what? Everybody goes back to their own home. Everybody goes back to their life, and they forget about you. The people that are going to remember you are those that see your courage, those that see how brave you were, those that see that you overcame adversity, those that see the inspiration that you provide because you're actually living the truth that resonates in your heart. And that can change the world. And if you don't think that that's possible because there's 8 billion plus people on the planet, here is the actuality. In your sphere of influence, and call it, for most people, there could be a couple thousand that are in their network that they see from time to time over the course of the years. Some it's a lot larger than that, and some it's smaller, but just even imagine that for a moment. Then within their smaller sphere of influence, or their ultra sphere, we could call it, you have a couple hundred people. And then when you dial it in, you have 50 or so people, and then you dial it in even more. There are a number of people that the way that you live your life dictates, shows, demonstrates, is the key ingredient to propelling them or to dragging them down. It's a crab in the bucket mentality. Anybody who's been to the beach, if you collect a bunch of crabs, what happens? One tries to escape, all the other ones grab the crab's leg, try to pull back into the bucket. You're that freaking crab, be strong enough to try to get out of the bucket, break free, and go to the ocean. And guess what? The ocean is a scary place. The ocean has vastness. The ocean is the unknown. The ocean has storms. The ocean has waves. It has seas. It has all of this stuff, and that's the way of life. If you stay in your own little bubble, if you stay safe, if you stay the same, nothing good is going to come of it. Because the chances are you're gonna not do anything that's worthwhile. And that's a hard reality. Some people are saying you're too harsh. Well, guess what? It's not for the faint of heart, because the last I checked, the entrepreneurs, the people that are crushing it, those who are actually making a lasting impact, they're not worried about life being on easy street. For some who are retired, hanging out at the beach, chilling, okay, that's the life they want to have. I'm not hating on that. But I'm talking about those who are dialing in, those that listen to, watch this show on a regular basis. The number one thing that I believe that can help you to truly be impactful, to actually overcome the odds, to be somebody who does live with true authenticity, with genuineness, is to not care what other people say and not care about what they think. If you could get rid of those two boogeymen from the closet, guess what? Your life is going to have freedom. Your life is going to have space to have creativity, because the things that you're nervous and worried and scared about all have to do with thoughts about what other people are going to think, what they're going to say. But when you rid that from the equation, look out. Yes, look out, because possibilities are endless. The open-mindedness leads to no ceiling. And when that's the case, and you mix in arduous hard work, laser sharp focus, then no matter what comes your way, you have a goal, you have a why, and you'll be willing to do what it takes to get there. And the best part is nobody, not one person. It doesn't matter if it's your mom, it's your dad, it's your boyfriend, it's your girlfriend, it's an aunt, an uncle, brother, sister, cousin, friend, colleague. Doesn't matter who it is, enemy. I don't care. They can't take it away from you because you did it. You did it and you buckled up and you got it done. Why is it so important? Because life is short. You don't know how much time you have. You have today. And today, if it's something that you feel strongly about, you should go ahead and do it. You shouldn't wait. You shouldn't be sitting around hemming and hawing and then asking every Tom, Dick, and Harry what they think about it. What they think actually doesn't matter. What they think, one of two things is going to happen in most situations. You're going to ask somebody, and I'm not saying don't get sound advice on anything, because you have to have some baseline knowledge. You have to understand who you are. You have to recognize the consequences of certain decisions and actions, and wisdom can help us to make better choices. So that way we can either further the dream and get there quicker and in a more efficient manner and in a way that we can have greater success, or not. But I'm talking about when you know in your heart of hearts something to do, but you're still not courageous enough to do it because you're so worried about what everybody else is going to say and do and think. That is a shame. That's something that nobody should be living like. That's like living in a prison because you're not free. You have freedom. You have an ability to think on your own, to do as you understand is the right way to go. And I'm not just saying do whatever the heck you want at all times, because that's irresponsible. But when you're in tune with what God is leading you to, when you understand who he's calling you to be, when you recognize the things in your life that make you come alive, your virtues, your passions, the things that you resonate with, the way that you can add value to other people, when you're living in the pocket and it feels like time doesn't even exist because you're not clock watching, you're not thinking about, oh, what am I done with this and what's going to be coming next? You're just living and you're in the present moment. Those are beautiful things. And those are the very aspects of life that make us excited. That's the very reason why I'm recording this at almost midnight. Because, see, the thing is, it doesn't matter about what time of the day it is. What actually matters, not that there's buzzers going off or people blowing up my phone, what have you. The real thing that actually matters is the very fact that you and I have the opportunity to make great things happen. And when we do make great things happen and we understand that we're living in the truth and we recognize the very fact that we have the ability, when we're available, to respond, then we see results. And when we see results, it compounds. It doesn't only compound in our life, but in the lives of other people, because they can't help but recognize it. See, there's a difference here. There's a difference between being overly concerned about what the naysayers have to say and trying to prove them wrong. Okay, some people come from that camp. And if that motivates you, okay, that'll last for a little while. But we're not just talking about motivation here, because motivation will dull. Motivation will wane. Motivation will disappear and dissipate. What we're talking about is inspiration. We're talking about breathing life, breathing energy, the spirit, being of the spirit and living in that, because that's where truth abides. And we know what it says, the truth will set you free. And when you're free indeed, then you can operate from the pocket. Then you can operate with a growth mindset. Then you can operate with no holds bar and live your authentic self. Not just, oh, well, I have a hidden truth in this. I'm going to make up my life and, what is real and what's not. No, we're talking about being really engaged, engrossed. And for people that understand the inner workings that are at bay here, What we're talking about is getting away from the shore. What we're talking about is getting away from that coastline and safety net and going out into the open water, because Jesus calls us onto the open water like he called the disciples. And he said to St. Peter, come out onto the water. And he started to walk on the water. And then it was the very minute that he doubted that he began to sink. So when we start doubting, our life starts to dip. It starts to decline. It starts to go in the other direction. We start listening to the wrong voices and not listening to the inner self. We're listening to everything on the outside. And imagine a great athlete who's at the foul line with a couple minutes to go in the game, maybe even a couple seconds, and they have to hit some clutch shots. And they're there and they're listening to the crowd noise. It's going to be choke city. Instead, if they're focused, if they're locked in, if they're dialed in, and their main aim and sole concern is just making another shot, they're not adding extra pressure to their life. I once heard pressure is a privilege. You probably heard it too. What does that actually mean? What I think that means is when we put ourselves in a position and we've prepared, we've practiced, we've honed our craft, when it's a so-called situation where pressure is at hand because there's something big on the line, some big stakes that it could be won or could be lost. We don't have to look at it as, okay, I have to make this or else that's the end. No, we look at it as, oh, I've already done this. I envisioned it. I've practiced it. I've done it hundreds and hundreds of times. I'm doing it again. And I know I can, and I know I will. And that's operating out of confidence. But people are worried about everybody else, what they're thinking, what they're saying, what they're doing, looking over their shoulder, questioning, hesitation. Am I making the right choice or not? Asking for a million sounding boards pieces of advice, then getting so confused, not knowing where to go, and then going nowhere and literally staying where they are because they are so paralyzed by the fact that they had a million inputs and they have no way to take all that information and to decipher it and to discern about it and to recognize what actually is real and true. And then they're stifled. Then their growth stunts. And then they're like that little tree that just stays little because it was planted in a pot instead of in a forest to allow it to grow, flourish, bloom, and blossom and stretch its branches so far and wide. See, I've said this and I'll say it again, and you need to listen up right now. Your perspective in life is key. Your point of view and the way that you go, what you decide to consume, what you're looking at, who you're looking towards, who you are spending your time around matters exponentially. If you are hanging around a crowd of people that are not going anywhere, the chances are you're not going to go anywhere either. But if you're around people that are challenging you, that are helping you to grow, that are asking you questions, that are encouraging you, that are inspiring you, that are doing things at a greater frequency, that are actually aspirational, not just motivational. Inspirational, yes, but aspirational. Meaning when someone looks at their life, they want to be like them because of the way that they're living, because of how they're actually differentiating themselves from the rest of the crowd. And that is the very truth, my friends. There's a map in the background. There's a globe. It's a huge earth. And what are people? They want to be herds. They want to actually stay with the pack. They want to actually just be normal, what they so-call normal. They want to be average. What? Makes no sense. Run your race, fight your fight, not someone else's, not just following aimlessly, because you're going to go and you're going to follow, you're going to fall off a cliff, and you're going to have lots of regret. And the last I checked, that none of those people, again, are doing amazing things, let alone are they having affluence, are they having impact, are they actually truly joyful on the inside. And if you want to see yourself in the future and be proud of who you are, Don't just be so focused on the finish lines, on the ultimate outcomes. Those will be byproducts of your hard work. Those will be the things that happen, and the podiums will take place because you put in the effort, because you were focused, because you did give your best, because you were perseverant, because you stayed true to who you are. But don't focus on that as being the end result, because that won't make you happy either. That'll be fleeting. I recently ran a half marathon up in Lake Placid. It was very challenging. Lots of hills, tough terrain, and about 198 people, I remember that, yes, 198 people crossed the finish line before me. There were about 915 or so runners in the half. I want to say another probably 100 or so for the full, and then a few hundred more for the 10K. And it was a humbling moment. I trained for this for about 10 weeks. It was arduous, and I gave my all. I probably came out of the gate too fast. And guess what? If we start too fast and we fell forward, that's okay. I'd rather be coming out the gate flying than dragging. But what I did recognize, and it's not to overdo this statement, we do know that life literally is a marathon. But when I crossed the finish line, even having seen 198 people cross before me, something hit me. It wasn't in the crossing of the finish line that I felt like a winner or a champion or victorious. And I certainly wasn't making the winning medal stand. Not even close. But it was actually in the process. And isn't that so in life? Progress happens. Breakthroughs take place. You fall, you get back up, you keep going. And little by little, we inch our way and we become different. We are renewed. We are transformed. We have these experiences and we don't quit and we don't give in, and we get tougher. We get stronger. We get bolder. We get better, and we keep improving, and we keep improving along the way. And through this process of a 10-week journey in a half marathon training, when I did the marathon, you could take so many examples in life. And it's not in receiving ultimately that prize, crossing that finish line, that it's like, okay, now I've made it, that's it, and the rest is history. Actually, no. It was before I crossed that finish line, I started to think to myself, okay, now what is next? And it wasn't celebrating too fast. It wasn't counting the confetti before having won the game and the buzzer sounds, but was the very fact of when I was training and I had run my last training run, and I knew that I was going to do well with this half because I was prepared. It was then thinking, okay, this has been a good process. I've gotten stronger from this. I've gotten better. My stamina has increased. Now, what do I do next in this progression of fitness? And that's the question we have to keep asking ourselves. And that's something that is so important, extremely vital. It's actually crucial for our development, because if we stop, if we celebrate too long, if we focus on the end result, then we're not going to think about what is next. And it's not about being a taskmaster as much as it is about owning and winning our life by continuing to improve, by continuing to evolve, by continuing to say, I am not done yet. There's air in my lungs, there's breath. I have my feet hitting the floor. I could see beautiful things in this world, and I want to do more because I have more left in the tank. You know, sometimes people, they rag on me because they say, hey, Dave, you're not getting enough sleep. But guess what? I do believe in rest. You have to rejuvenate yourself. But life is so exciting. Some people are not having that excitement. Why? Because they're concerned, and they're concerned with the wrong things. They're looking over their shoulder instead of looking straight ahead. They're veering way too long into the rear view mirror instead of looking at the windshield and looking at the vastness out in front of them, the possibilities, the opportunities. And guess what? Opportunities aren't going to chase you down. You have to go out there and you have to attack them. You have to be like a lion on the hunt. You have to get out there on the prowl, and you have to go out there for the kill. And if you're not willing to do that, guess what? You're going to be in the same place, thinking the same thoughts, hanging around the same people, doing the same stuff, getting paid the same amount of money, living in the same place, driving the same old car for the rest of your life. And most likely, it's just going to get worse. And that's why so many people over the course of time, what happens? It's not just the calendar pages are turning. It's not just they're getting old. They get fat. They get lazy. They turn into something that they aren't proud of. And this is not a dig on people that are not in shape, but what I'm saying is if you take pride in getting better all the time, regardless if the circumstances change, if the challenges are different, you will figure out a way. Because it's not just about a choice, it's not just about what I did this time, and it far supersedes even that process because it's actually building winning systems that work in every facet of your life, that work in education, that work in faith, that work in fitness, that work in finance, that work in your family, that work in relationships. It works, it works, it works. Why? Because you continue to hone skills. It's not that someone is better than you. They were born and you were born. You're a human being, they're a human being. Everybody's different. We have different DNA. We come from different families. We have different origins. We have different countries that we're living in. However, we all have abilities. We all can work on our skills. We all have opportunities that we need to chase down that aren't going to just find us. The interesting thing about the world, the interesting thing about the universe, the interesting thing that I believe about God is that if you are diligent, if you are disciplined, if you go out there and you are on the hunt and you are intentional and you are forthright and you are someone who believes not only in yourself but in other people and you are putting goodness and positivity out there in the world, it just so happens that certain opportunities and certain things end up having this law of attraction that comes back to you. Not all the time, but sometimes. And that's not a bad thing. But you have to believe that it's possible. You have to believe in yourself. You have to recognize the very fact that you have what it takes, or you don't. That's the truth. You have to decide today. You have the final word. In your life right now, what is it that you need to do? You know it, but you're too damn scared to do it. You're not committed enough to actually get it done. You'll make excuses and you'll point fingers, you'll place blame, and then even you might start picking apart other people and being that chirping bird that's trying to deter others because you're too scared of what you need to attack in your own life, what you need to come to terms with, what you need to overcome. Don't do that kind of stuff to other people. Celebrate their wins, recognize their strengths, give them the pat on the back they deserve, and move forward. And if they don't, ignore it. You don't need to put negativity and to tear people down. That's to make yourself feel better. That's what cowards do. Instead, have character. Instead, recognize that you today can do something to change your life. And in doing so, a byproduct of that is success. A byproduct of that is achievement. A byproduct of that is winning. There's no other way to put it. And the beauty is, nobody can take it away from you. You become someone you're proud of. That is the ultimate win. Not pride, not braggadociousness, not all this stuff that's vain. No, I'm talking about having ultimate confidence in who you are and whose you are. Meaning, you're a child of God. You're a child of the Most High. You are part of an army that's set apart. And you're doing things not just in and of this world, but that are eternal. That's pretty cool. To me, that is something to get out of bed in the morning for. To me, that is going to leave a lasting impact. And you recognize the fact there are other people around the world doing it as well. And when you see them and they have that spark, when you ignite it in other people, how bright will that light be? That's a wow factor right there. That's the X factor that people will recognize, and whether they celebrate it or not doesn't matter. You know that you did it and you did it well. And at the end of the day, you got to answer to two: yourself, because you know in your heart of hearts what's bothering you. You know what you desire. And if you don't, my encouragement is that you figure that out, that you work towards that, because that will give you some real peace when you're living in the pocket, when you're living, understanding where God is calling you and you are actually doing those things. You're on track with that way. And yes, can it change in time? Absolutely. And it should, because we are changing as humans. But you'll have purpose, you'll have vision, and you'll have dreams that actually can become realities because you decide to do it and make it happen. My hope is that you enjoyed this episode today, that you got something out of it that's worthwhile and worth sharing. Make sure you share it with a friend, someone else, a colleague, someone that could benefit from this. Check out my website, ef3life.com. We're on social media at ef3life, now even on TikTok. And of course, I would hope and love for you to read some of my books, my bestseller, Fire Burning Within, The Saint Next Door, and Winning with Money, Dollars and Cents, all available online and on Amazon.com. For the Life to the Fullest podcast, I'm your host, Dan Jason. This is the EF3 Life platform. Remember, Jesus said, I came so that they might have life and have it more abundantly. Let's take our life back. Let's have complete ownership. Let's not think about what other people are concerned with. Let's not worry about what they're saying. And let's start living with the truth and with authenticity. God bless you. And as always, life to the fullest.